Hi,
Hello.
happy Sunday.
Yes, happy Sunday. Happy daylight savings time.
Oh, that's right. That is right. Did I throw you off this morning?
With what?
The time.
Oh, did that throw me off this morning?
Yeah.
I thought you asked if you threw me off this morning.
Oh, no, meaning that.
Yeah, no, I was ready for it.
Oh, okay.
I was ready for it. I was ready for it. I went to bed early because I usually feel that hour that's stolen. So I was ready for it. And I think you could tell in my voice, I'm excited because the change in time means
Yes.
spring is on the horizon and I can't wait. The weather's going to get warmer. We can go back to being outside.
Yes.
I have plans for myself. I got plans.
Spring is near.
Yes. So this year was very different. Usually I'm like, I feel that hour and I'm walking around tired all day. Nope, not this year. This year I was like, yep, I'm
Nobody's
ready.
tired.
Nobody's tired. We got too much rest. Nobody's tired.
I know, no one's tired. You be tired of COVID and being cooped up, but not physically tired from lack of sleep or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm just tired. And speaking of COVID, I would feel remiss if I didn't at least mention it. I live in New Jersey, but New York City is sort of my heart. And I realized today that it's been a year since the first New York City death related to COVID. So although I was excited today about spring, there's still a little somberness in the air just because it's a reminder of everything that the country, the world has been through in the past year. So don't want to forget. I know that a lot of people, I know some people that have been impacted through COVID. And so I just wanted to put that in the universe and acknowledge that. But yeah, I can't believe that it's been a year since we've been in this situation.
I know. It's crazy. It's really crazy. I don't want to think about it, but then it's inevitable to not think about it.
Right. Because you're like, what were you doing this time last year? And it was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just, I remember just packing stuff away to be like.
What do you mean?
Meaning I was out buying things because I knew I was going to be cooped up in my house for months. I was mentally getting there. Before.
Yeah. Do you remember all that? And people were hoarding stuff and you couldn't get toilet paper. We were on lockdown. You couldn't leave your house.
Yeah, it's scary.
And it just happened. So it felt as though it happened so abruptly. So I guess, the good thing is that a year has passed. The sad thing is that we've lost so many people, but a year has passed and, hope is on the horizon.
Yeah, it is. I'm actually feeling quite hopeful today.
Yeah. I feel like daylight savings time does that. Daylight savings time, spring, it's sort of the sign of rejuvenation.
Yep.
So I'm ready for it. I am so ready for it.
Yes. I've been ready. I just see that little light at the end of the tunnel. I see a little speck of light. So I was like, yes, it's gonna get bigger and bigger, hopefully, but I feel hopeful.
You're like, I'll sacrifice the hour.
Yes, sure. Take the hour.
Anything.
I've sacrificed too much these days. So it was like you want an hour? Sure.
Yeah.
Take it.
Take the hour for some warm weather. And then the other thing that I realized, right? So many things have changed and there have been a lot of losses, but then at the same time, there have been a lot of gains. And I've been saying this since we started this podcast, because this podcast was our quarantine baby.
Yeah, we had a baby during quarantine.
We had a baby.
We birthed a baby. We named her Lifing It.
The baby together. Without the stretch marks.
Yes.
Without the stretch marks.
A lot of headaches, but no stretch marks.
Yeah. But I think this podcast is just a pure example of how many things people have gained, right? Like, and we've gained this podcast. If it wasn't for COVID, I hate to say it, but if it wasn't for COVID and being in lockdown and all of that, we wouldn't have had this idea to start this podcast. Because a lot of time we spent just sitting in our house in our own ideas, in our own mess, in our own ideas.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're totally right on that. I don't think the words would have been spoken about it.
No. I wouldn't have had time to think because I was so highly scheduled.
Yeah. That's right.
So this wouldn't have come up. But, I think this podcast and also the circle of people, I think you were probably in two worlds. When I say you, I just mean in generally speaking. You either are in the bucket of where you had relationships severed, or you're in the bucket of where you had relationships strengthened, right? So like maybe there were relationships that were on the cusp of breaking up or ending before COVID. And then, COVID was the nail on the coffin, and those relationships have since been severed, broken, gone.
Yes.
And then you might have had relationships that were also on the cusp of being stronger and bonded. And I think that also got reinforced during COVID. So I think I'm in the latter category. Like, my relationship with you has gotten strengthened. My relationship with our inner circle has gotten strengthened, on the home front with my parents, with my husband. But I have to say, the circle of women that I went into quarantine with,
right.
It sounds so funny. That circle really got strengthened. And it just started making me think about it's Women's History Month. And so I started thinking about just sisterhood in general and empowering women. And I think that having this circle of friends, of women, girlfriends, got strengthened during COVID. But then it also made me realize how much I probably didn't appreciate it before COVID, and how my relationships with women have been in the past and how they are now. So I started thinking about all these things. And I guess, again, time at home will do that for you. But I really wanted to talk today about the idea of sisterhood and like what it means to us and how we defined it in the past and maybe how that definition has evolved currently. So that's what I feel like talking about today.
No, I love the idea. I love the topic for sure. I think it's so fitting of, like you said, it's March. It's more of a reason to dive in and, define sisterhood and see where, like you said, what it meant before and what it means now. I think perspective, highlights a lot of things in our lives, even though we may say, you know what, like 5 years ago, I didn't look at these women the same way. But then again, we didn't face these same, issues that we are facing today. Maybe it was strong then, not that it wasn't, right? But now with COVID, I think people have stepped back and realized, shit, life is short. You know what I mean? Or what we thought mattered didn't really matter so much anymore. So perspective, I think perspective is so big in terms of everything that we deal with, that we face in our lifetime, and, relationships. And I feel like after COVID, like you said, some were lost, some were gained, some got stronger. I don't know, but
the true test is when we get released again.
Right. Yes. It's like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And feelings were felt for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think about all those times, where there were a lot of unknowns this past year, right? Like, we didn't know what the timeline was going to be. You didn't know who you could be around. And so a lot of our interactions were just through Zoom. And what I really appreciated about our circle was that, if someone was feeling away, like someone was feeling isolated in that particular day, or if someone had a moment to share, I think that one of the things that got taken away from us was our ability to socialize and celebrate things, or, just to touch and to hug each other when things weren't going well. You know, you always need a hug from your friend, or, you know, you can go and have like, let's go out for a drink because I really need it this week. And, you know, those things were taken away from us. And so we had to recreate those things virtually. And it wasn't ideal, but it definitely got me through to the other side, you know, thinking that we're almost on the other side, but it got me through it. And so I thought about it the other day. I think that, and maybe I'm just mature enough to handle it now. I don't know, but I think
it comes with being seasoned.
It comes with being seasoned. But I think about my relationships with women in the past. It goes back to middle school. Unfortunately, everything goes back to middle school.
It's a key point, I'm telling you. Mine went back to middle school too.
And I remember, I transferred. So I was in a private school and then I transferred to a Catholic school, and the Catholic school was obviously more strict. But I remember the first sort of group of girls that I came in contact with were mean. They were really mean. And of course, I'm not holding that against anyone right now. And who knows, you might talk to them and they might be like, she was really mean. I don't know. I can only speak from my experience. And I just remember being made to feel different. And so I was like the new girl who transferred, and everyone sort of had relationships already formed. But I remember them sort of making fun of where I came from. I remember gossip. I remember, right, there'd be like notes passed around sometimes. Sometimes it was about me and sometimes it wasn't about me. But so this was like my first, I think, real interaction with girls in that cliquish way. Like, I think when you're in elementary school, you know, one day someone's your best friend, the other day they're not. Like, it's very superficial, you know?
Yeah, you're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, right. But I think when you get into middle school, that's when self-esteem comes in.
Yeah.
It gets a lot more complicated. And so I just remember that being etched in my brain, that girls aren't always the nicest. Right. And then I would look, and I remember being in middle school, and I remember looking at the relationships that the boys had with each other. And it was
so
like,
effortless.
It was so effortless. It was like they would fight one day, like literally physically fight in the cafeteria or the playground. And the next day they were pretend rapping. You know what I mean? Like they were just joking around. But I remember with girls, it wasn't like that. It was, you know, you talked about so-and-so, and then that person would get like the whole group to sort of turn against that one girl, and it would revolve. It would sort of be a revolving door of who was being talked about on any given day. And so I just remember my first interaction sort of being catty. Yeah.
I mean, girls are known to be catty. Our kind is known to be catty. We're just a catty kind.
So that's where like the competition piece came in, right? And so, sorry, before we go any further, so I think a good name for this episode is collaborate instead of compete. And so you and I right now are talking about sort of that competition phase of relationships with women.
I mean, that's how it started. I think it started as, you know, like you said, as a competition.
Yeah.
It always starts that. I mean, I don't know if it always starts that way, but it started that way for me. And it sounds like it did for you as well.
Yeah.
It was
what do you remember? You said it's shitty.
For lack of a better word. I know. What do I remember? I mean, middle school for me was very tough because I came in from a completely different culture altogether. And English, obviously, is not my first language. So I was learning to adapt to a new culture, a country, the language. So it was just a lot of like, you know, outside factors playing into me being in middle school. Right. So luckily, I was in a class where I took some ESL classes. So I was around people from my own country. So again, I mean.
Oh, that helps.
So it helps a lot, obviously, because it didn't feel as hard, but still. So I was caught in the middle, sort of like I've always lived sort of like in the middle of the two cultures for as far as I can remember. I'm always bouncing back and forth between the two because I want to be present, but obviously in both. I don't want to completely shut my doors down to, who I am, just to adapt to, to the American culture. But, I'm going to stay focused here, going to middle school. I was always really liked by my teachers because I was really dedicated with school because I knew I had a mission in mind. So I was always very focused from day one. And I was liked by my teachers. I was liked by my peers, especially boys. The guys, I really got along with the boys really, really well. But I don't know if it's because I grew up around a lot of boys, like my brothers, and I was friends with like his friends. And I played soccer around boys. So I always got along with boys beautifully. Girls, forget it. I was hated by girls. I was hated by girls in the worst way. But I mean, I had really good friends in middle school. I mean, I can remember like 2 or 3 girls that was just like my core circle. But then outside of those 2 or 3, it was just like, I feel like they hated me just for breathing. I don't know. I just had a breath. It was like, yeah, we don't like her. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I never understood why.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it because, like I said, I was like by my peers, mainly boys, right? And my teachers absolutely adored me. I was a really good student. And I always kind of like danced to the beat of my own drum. So I really didn't care about what the outside thought of me. So I don't know if that was looked upon I was being stuck up. I don't understand. I never understood this. So yeah, girls in middle school hated me.
Yeah. And I agree. So I did have like 2 or 3 people who were really close, and those relationships I really relished. But I just felt as though I would be very nervous every time I came into a new encounter with a group of girls because I just didn't know how I was going to be received. And I will say, I think now I can say I sort of marched to the beat of my own drum. I don't think I did so much in middle school. I think in middle school, I was still trying to fit in. And I think that's part of what would hurt so much as far as not being accepted by everyone. I mean, obviously I've grown out of that, but I do think now, like when I reflect on my first or sort of foundational relationships with women, there was more of a competitive nature to them than this collaboration that we speak of as an adult. And it's funny because even to this day, like even with my daughter, and she's younger now, and I see when she tries to make friends, and she's very expressive, and she'll say, I'm a little bit nervous about making friends. And then, I watch her interaction with other people. And at this age, at 5 years old, they're always kind of like, will you be friends with me? Or, they really try to make themselves vulnerable and reach out to their peers. And at this age, it's still very much accepted. And so it'll be interesting to see her evolution and her relationships with females over time. But yeah, and I wonder if for most women, if their first real relationships with other women felt more competitive or more collaborative. And I don't know where it comes from. The only thing that I've been thinking about lately is I read this article, and in the article, it said that women are we very much want to be connected to each other. And so ironically, in us wanting to be so connected to each other, it becomes sort of competitive in terms of who has the best connection with whom. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, I can only say that now as an adult, but I was like, oh, maybe that's where some of it stemmed from. Maybe someone always wanted to be closer to someone else, or you wanted to be closer to the popular girl. I don't know where it comes from, but it's just very interesting. So now that I think about my relationships in middle school, I mean, thank God people grow up and they develop, because I don't know how I would have handled relationships with women going forward. I really don't. Have you talked to your daughter Because she's about to be in middle school shortly. 2 years off.
Yeah. I mean, no, next year it depends on the school system, but like, I get it could be as early as next year, next school year. But yeah, I have. And it's funny. I look at her, I see a lot of me, and very much so like myself, is she's just dancing to their own beat. And I was like, look, you just be kind to everyone. You know what I mean? The people that are going to stick to you will stick to you. And if they don't want to stick to you, then you know what? It may just not be meant to be. And it's okay. And most importantly, I emphasize this to her and to both my kids all the time. I was like, not everyone is going to like you.
Do you feel like now you compete or you collaborate more with women? Imagine if you...
Imagine if my answer was
compete.
I compete more.
I haven't stopped competing.
The competition, ladies.
Shoot, I kind of answered that for you, but I think you should still say your piece. So like, you think that you compete. You know what? Here's a better question. Like, when did it go from, for you, when did it go from like competition to collaboration?
For me,
I don't know. Whatever question you like better.
You know what? I would say, not that I ever competed. I never looked at it as a competition, for sure. I was always being competed against, for sure. It was always like that. I was always looked upon as a competition. I don't know why, right?
Oh. Wait, so you don't feel like you compete at all?
I don't compete at all.
Do you ever feel like you did compete?
In a workplace, sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of articles about women in the workplace.
In a workplace, I think it's natural, but like outside of work, like professionally, I think I did, for sure. I'm not gonna lie, but like
against other women. Yeah,
it's kind of like, what are you competing for?
Yeah, no, I admit I don't like the feeling. I agree with you. I don't like the feeling. I think I have to say that sometimes I think my mind can go there.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want it to. So I like reel it back in. I'm like, no. But I do think that maybe it's not competition, but I think that sometimes I do the comparison.
Okay. Comparison. Okay.
But anyway.
I can see that happening a lot. I agree maybe with that. Comparison, yes, you're comparing, yes. But like competition.
Yeah.
But no. Maybe it's because I've always felt that I was being competed against.
What made you feel that way?
It was, I don't know. It was like, especially in high school. And high school was tough for me because it was just like, I never understood why. It was always like, the side looks or the comment, or she thinks she's so this and so that. And it's like, and little did you know that I was completely opposite of all that. But they never took the time to even give me a chance to get to know me. So it's kind of like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to be in the corner. And again, I created my own cool spot.
She said my own cool spot.
Yes, I created my own. I created my own corner, and he was like, you know what? The right people would join me.
Yeah,
and that was that. I was like, I never felt the need to. I don't know, like it felt so catty and just unhealthy.
Yeah,
and I just didn't like the feeling behind it, and it felt like it was just consuming. It would just be consuming you. It was too much.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be a part of that. And if that meant for me to be cool, then maybe I'm just not a cool kid. Do you see that in your relationships now?
No. And that's what's so refreshing. Mm-hmm. But to your point, it might happen and I'm not aware of it. But I think what I love now is that I've completely let my guard down with certain people. Mm-hmm. Like I'm very, not with everyone, but I'm very transparent with my circle. And that's such a refreshing and such a liberating feeling and way to be. And like, I'm sure people still talk, but it's not that toxic gossip. It might be two friends talking about me in terms of like what I told both of them separately. It's nothing that is malicious or anything like that. So it's so much better. And what I love about it now is that I didn't even know relationships could be like this. You know, I didn't know that relationships with women could be non-competitive. But I also think that, you know, sometimes it's just people need a life, because I think about the women in our circle and it's just like everyone is so busy doing what they need to do. You don't really have time to be negative or malicious and talk about other people. But I will say, going back to what you were talking about earlier, there was a different side to me at work. I did feel as though at work, there was only one seat at the table for a woman, you know? And so it oftentimes felt like everyone was competing. And so now flip it and think about, I was in education. And so there were the majority women. And so there were smaller opportunities. There weren't as many opportunities, but there were more women. And so, you know, there might have been, as opposed to one seat at the table, there might have been 2 or 3 seats at the table, but it's mostly women. And so there's just this element of cattiness and paranoia, and you don't know what people are saying. And you wonder if you're being sabotaged, you know, and it may not be so overt, but it might be like, oh, you know, she's busy doing X, Y, and Z. I don't know if she's available to take on that role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was sneaky. It was sneaky at work. So I think that there was a competitiveness that just, it wasn't so obvious, but it was there. It was absolutely there. I felt it. You know, you just get a vibe. There's like a little chill that goes up your back and you're like, oh, yeah.
I can feel it. It's there. Yeah. So when did it switch for you, I guess? When did you experience less of that? Is there a point that it turned?
When I left the corporate world.
Peace out. So you mean to tell me that you don't experience that at all today? Oh, no, I shouldn't say today. Like after you left, I guess within your personal circle.
Yeah, I don't feel it. And but like I said, I want this on the record. It may happen. I just don't know about it because I don't feel it.
Marisa doesn't have the radar.
My radar is really weak. But you know what? You know what's that you just brought up a really good point. Maybe I'm not looking for it anymore.
You're not looking for it, sister.
Maybe I'm not looking for it.
I didn't say it.
I got to do some investigating then.
Oh, no. You need to start checking the eyes.
I know. Clearly.
I'm just joking.
So,
not.
No, you're not. I will say that I feel pretty confident in, if something were to go down, that I have a few people on speed dial to call for some backup. Like I feel confident about that.
That's good. No, I think you have that. I'll be there for you.
Just that sounds really compelling.
Just dial 211. I don't know what 211. I hope 211 doesn't ring anywhere.
I know. Now you can have people making false claims to 211.
So at what point did you start like building some really solid relationships with women? Because it seems like we've talked about like middle school, high school, just being like up and down, trying to figure it out. Cattiness, competitiveness, all of that. Like at what point did you, I don't know, start something somewhat solid?
Where it became real.
I guess at that time, when was it real for you? Yeah,
I think opposite to most people, and I'm making an assumption here, but opposite to most people where I think they build really close relationships in college, I think the opposite was true for me. I built closer relationships after college. I didn't meet these people in unique situations, you know, and they were legitimately strangers when I met them. You know, it wasn't like, oh, I knew them from so-and-so or so-and-so. With you, I did know through a connection.
A college connection. But
like I think about some of the other friends and I literally just met them out in the street.
Oh, you just had an ad for friend.
Yeah. Can you sign my friend contract? Ooh, a friend contract. You remember those?
Yes.
You want to be my friend? Yes. No.
I know, so innocent.
A friend contract. We need that for our Instagram post. A friend contract. And so I met them at a very pivotal point in my life because it was in my 20s. And it was just like, I just graduated. I was trying to figure out my life, what I wanted to do. And I was very vulnerable, but I also wanted to have a lot of fun. And so, I think the universe just threw people into my path, and all the people, for the most part, that the universe threw into my path after college, I'm long time friends with, like decades.
Yeah. Decades.
So I would say it changed for me after college. Again, I was reading another article, and they had this quote, and it is, "Send the elevator back down." Do you feel as though you have sent the elevator back down for anyone?
I think so. I don't think I've ever held the elevator on anyone. If I didn't send it back, is because I just didn't have anything to put on it. So don't hold that against me. There was nothing to send for. To send back to you. So
there was no reason to send the elevator back down. It was empty. It was empty
to begin with. Sending it back would have been like purposeless. It was like, why? But I don't think I'm the type to just push people down, like especially my own kind. I feel like I've always wanted to be able to make connections with people.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like people never sometimes gave me a chance to do that. But, there may be a reason behind. There's always a reason, right?
Yeah.
There's always a reason. And I need to be in people's shoes to understand the reasoning. Is it, I don't know. Is it maybe you may find me unapproachable, or you may think I'm intimidating, or maybe is there jealousy there? Or again, maybe I'm just not your type. I mean? Those are all valid points, right? Those are valid reasons. And who am I to disregard them? But again, there's always a reason why. But I think being in my corner, I feel like I've never been the type to hold you down. Yeah. If I could help, I feel like I've always sent it down.
Yeah. And do you feel like other people have sent the elevator down for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think people have. But I think also... I don't know. Maybe there has been times when people could have and didn't. That's
a good point.
I was like, oh, you can send that down, but
I noticed that you didn't send it down.
Right.
I noticed that you let the doors close as I was approaching the elevator, but that's okay.
You let the door go. I was like, all right, but again, I may just not be for you. So
I like that one. One.
I get it. Maybe you don't want me in that elevator with you. Again, there's a reason for that. There's always a reason. So it's all right. It's okay.
Maybe you don't want me in the elevator with you.
Right.
Again, that goes back to the competition, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's always a reason. Good or bad. There's a reason why people don't send shit down for you.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Reason. I'm writing. Because we're going to create some t-shirts. So do you judge other women for choices that you wouldn't personally make? I think I know the answer for you, but I'm going to let you. No, I'm not going to answer for you. Oh. I think I know the answer. I think I know how you would respond to this, but I'm curious if it's the same way you would actually respond to it.
Do I judge other women?
So do you judge other women for choices that you wouldn't personally make? This question resonated with me because I think, I may not say it, but sometimes I'm thinking things that may not be aligned with what I would do. I don't mean it to be judgy, but I think I do it. So I'm just also wondering if other people do it. So do you judge other women for choices that you wouldn't personally make?
I think the initial reaction would be yes. My mental would yes. Yes. But then very much like what you said before, I wheel myself in.
Yeah.
I don't speak on things right away. Overall, that's just my personality. I may hear things or whatever, you may, throw things my way. I always sit on it for a little bit, only because I know that people will forget the things that you say, but they will never forget the way you made them feel.
Yeah.
And I've lived through this so many times, and I don't want to play it back. You know what I mean? I don't want to throw it back to my peers. So I wheel myself in and I put myself in their shoe. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, well, you know what? I may not be able to do that, but it's kind of like, I give you kudos for doing that, because our lives are very different, completely separate. So I may not be able to pull it off, but you know what? If you have the gut to go for it, good for you.
Yeah. It's not just your actions, right? It's not just what you say. It's not just providing opportunities for other people. It's also how you make other women feel. So feel about their choices, feel about their lives. And I didn't have that realization until this moment.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a focus for me going forward. Right. Because I think it's very easy to speak the words and say what you should do and all of that. But it's really hard to provide a space where people feel accepted. I'm hoping that this podcast will achieve it. Right. Which is why we're being so vulnerable. We just sort of unload and we communicate, we unload, we let everything go here. So this is my first step at doing that, making sure that I make women feel empowered and they don't just talk the talk.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think feelings are and we are just a feeling creature. We feel things, we generate feelings, we absorb feelings. We're like just a feeling machine. So it's like,
I want to turn it off sometimes.
Right. And it's like so consuming at times, but that's just who we are. So it's like focusing on how we make someone feel to me is very important, or how people make us feel, right?
Yeah.
And because that's our core, that's how we function. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you're a woman, you have no feelings. I don't know. It's quite impossible. Like everything we do is based on feelings.
Yeah. So
I think keeping that in the forefront is very important, because it's like people will not forget how you make them feel.
Yeah, I think that you've captured that really well. I think that's the essence of sisterhood.
Yeah.
So if I had to define it, I would say that it's a circle of friends that make you feel that there is no other way to be but the way you are.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a total authentication of who you are inside and out. That's it. Like it's like, yes, I see you, I hear you, I welcome you. That's it.
Yeah. I may not agree with you.
Yeah. You don't have to. I mean, who wants a person agreeing with them 24/7? That does not feel great at all. Like, you want to push back. It's like,
you're going to feel like that child, right? That child who just realizes that they're not special anymore because their parents made them feel like they were special the whole time. And they walk out into the world and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you want a little pushback. You want a little, like, you know what? I would do it different if I was you.
Yeah.
And you know what? The fact that you did the way you did, it's fine. I'm not saying it's your way. I'm not saying you shouldn't have, but I would have done it this way. But you know what? It's great that you did the way you did, because that is who you are. Because we're not all the same at the end of the day. So I think sisterhood to me is looking beyond your flaws, you know what I mean? And still be there for that person. It could be one person, it could be a circle of many. But it's just like, just authentically just being present and just welcome in that space and just be you, regardless of what's happening around you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you are in my sisterhood circle, whether you want to be in it or not. I look forward to adding more people to our sisterhood circle. I think that this podcast has become a sisterhood circle. If it hasn't, that's what I want it to be.
Yeah. She has spoken into the universe. I love this.
It's been fun as always.
It has been fun. Any takeaways for you?
Takeaways. There's always takeaways. I am going to be more conscious. Women empowerment for me is not just about talking the talk. It's about walking the walk. So I'm going to, as a result, be more conscious about how I make women feel, making sure that they, not being afraid to collaborate, but making sure that they know how I feel about them in a positive way.
You always have a little bit of something that you don't know about.
That is, you know what?
There's always something. I look at it as a healthy thing. Okay, you ain't dancing until people are looking your way. Like, ooh, you know what? How did she do that? I like that. You keep throwing me those looks because I think those are healthy because those are the type of things will keep me on my toes. So you throw them my way all the time.
That is true. If people aren't talking about you, you're not important.
Exactly. You don't matter until they start talking about you.
That's right.
So keep on talking.
Talk about us. Talk about us. Pass those middle school notes.
It's all good.
What about your takeaways? What do you have?
My takeaways is, do I have takeaways? I'm going to continue to dance to people's feelings.
What does that mean?
Like I keep their feelings, present. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very much like what you just said. I have my own drums that I dance to, my own beats that I go by. But I never keep people's beats too far from mine. Yeah, even though I
know what you mean.
Even though I'm dancing to my own beats, to my own drum roll, like I'm always going by that. Like I don't look to the side for a boost. I don't. I just do my own. Like I'm dancing to this. This is my song. This is what I'm going to do. But I never lose sight of the side looks of people's feelings.
Sidelines.
Yeah, I never lose focus for that ever.
That's a good point. Well, friend.
Yeah. So this has been great.
It has been real. I am excited for our next episode, which we have to figure out. But I think at this point, this might wrap up our Women's History Month episodes because we have another one coming out at the end of the month. It's been real.
It's been real. Thanks for tuning in.
Don't forget to subscribe.
Yes. And follow us on IG and Facebook and all that good stuff.
Yes. We made it easier for people to catch up with us. So now we have like a linked tree. So anytime you go to our page, you can automatically get access to our podcasts, our YouTube channel, TikTok, all of that.
All of the shenanigans and then some.
Yeah, we need some more shenanigans.
We do. It's going to come. Spring is coming. So, hey, everybody get naked. Get naked.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.